Sam and Sam show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. My name is Sam McGinnis, and I'm very congested today. I'd like to welcome on my other co-host, Sam Teets. How are you?
I'm doing great, McGinnis. Apparently you aren't doing so well, but I'm glad to be on here and ready to talk some NBA playoffs, some NHL playoffs as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on the little NFL news we have. Basically, there's not going to be a whole lot of news unless we get another stupid Tim Tebow thing within the next few months.
I think, and look, he still has the number one selling jersey, I'm pretty sure, right now. So,
Oh, he did sign a deal, though. He did sign a deal.
yeah. He's now officially on the team, so we'll see how long that lasts, but I guess we could just kick it off. We'll talk some NBA basketball because that's what's going on right now.
Yes.
I don't know if there are some hot games on or not. I'm not keeping track of that quite yet, but there is some basketball going on tonight.
Let me double check this.
Before we talk about the games that are playing tonight, let's talk about my favorite team, the Miami Heat. They've been awful the last two games. They've been absolutely terrible. They're down 3-0 to the Milwaukee Bucks right now.
Which means they're screwed, by the way.
Yeah, they're screwed. They're going to lose this series. You're not coming back down 3-0 against Giannis Antetokounmpo, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. It's just not happening. So I don't know how we got to this point. Obviously, you lose the game one in overtime, and they like that sets everything up. But at the same point, they've been blown out. They've been absolutely horrible these past two games. Jimmy looks a little bit off, and Bam has just shrunk from the moment entirely on offense. So and Tyler Hero too. Tyler Hero's disappeared as well. So looks like Milwaukee's going to be moving on. They're not going to lose to Miami like they did last year.
Yeah, no, they're not. I'm sure this hurts your feelings greatly.
Yeah, it really stinks. A lot of people were calling Miami highly overrated to begin with. So now that this is happening, they're just using that as validation for their points. They're going to try to pin the whole thing in Disney as like a Mickey Mouse ring, or like they're saying, oh, it doesn't count. Miami just got lucky. I hate every minute of that discussion. I hate everything about those people. So I'm going to just keep going.
Sports everywhere, though, like that. They'll use anything, even if it's not valid a point. Anything they think is a point, just to,
Yeah, just to advance their point, their narrative, and all that stuff. But speaking of narratives, the Los Angeles Clippers and their inability to have any success in the playoffs, that's an ongoing narrative since the Clippers began. And they're currently down 2-0 to the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic.
I think this is personally hilarious, but just because they...
No, I agree with you. This is hysterical. I love this.
This isn't the same stature. It's not even close to the same stature, but this reminds me of like the Tampa Bay Lightnings of the past that have straight up, one of the greatest teams of all time, and they got swept. It's things like that make me laugh, Sam Teets.
Yeah, and this is a team that brought Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in. They gave up their future to get Paul George there alongside Kawhi Leonard, expecting some playoff success. And they lost last year. Yeah, last year, I think they lost 2 games to the Mavericks. They played in last year's playoffs. They actually lost 2 games. They won 6 total. But then they didn't get to the conference finals that year. Now they might get bounced in the first round. Granted, Kawhi Leonard has come back from being down 2-0 in a previous playoff series when he was with Toronto. They came back down 2-0 against Milwaukee. But if they lose this series in the first round, Kawhi Leonard has a player option this offseason, meaning he could become a free agent this offseason if he wants to.
Just go join LeBron, dude. Then we'll have the 3 versus 3. Not that they could ever do that because cap space. But I'm saying then you'd have the 3 versus 3 of the Nets and that'd be fun.
Yeah,
it's never gonna happen, but
no. Kawhi, I think will. If they lose in the first round, I'd be hard pressed to think Kawhi coming back again next year because Kawhi's a guy who has tied his legacy to winning. I mean, more so than stats, more so than anything else, it's been the fact that he's won in San Antonio, he's won in Toronto, he's done all this kind of stuff. If he was to go out there and lose with this Clippers team twice, and this Clippers team was one of the deepest ones in the Western Conference, it was supposed to be a favorite to go out there, maybe like a top 4, top 5 team to go out there and win an NBA championship for the past 2 years. If he loses in the playoffs in the first round, I think there's a really good chance he goes into free agency and skips town. The Clippers are once again the laughingstock of the NBA.
Yes, your 2 years of relevance.
So that's an ongoing series we have to keep an eye on. The Lakers, the other team in Los Angeles, are faring much better right now. They're up 2-1 over the Phoenix Suns, and Chris Paul, future Hall of Famer. Chris Paul, going to be an All-NBA player this year. He's injured again. He suffered a shoulder injury early in Game 1, and he doesn't. I don't think he's going to be healthy for the entire series because he hasn't recovered so far. When he's driving, he's always been so consistent from the elbows, shooting pull-up twos. He just does not look like the same player. He's missing those shots. He's missing free throws more than he usually does. He's losing his handle more. So I think that shoulder injury is really hampering Chris Paul, and it's probably going to cost Phoenix this series.
Well, and it also proves our point from last week. The Lakers are still going to win.
Yeah, the Lakers are probably still going to win the series, but the injury, I mean, it stinks for Chris Paul because this always happens to Chris Paul. Happened to him in Houston. Happened to him with the Clippers.
Injuries stink in general. That's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just seems to happen to Chris Paul more than almost anyone else. So it's unfortunate because this really is a great Phoenix team. So if they do end up losing this series, maybe they can come back next year and hopefully stay healthier. The Denver Nuggets, this is probably the least talked about series actually going on right now. The Denver Nuggets are up 2-1, or the Portland Blazers. This series has not been on TV a lot, where it's been overlapped with games featuring usually one of the Los Angeles teams, which is obviously much more popular. So I haven't actually watched a lot of the series so far, but Jokic is cooking, obviously, or Jokic, and Lillard's doing his part on the other side. But right now, 2-1 Denver Silver. What?
Did you call him Gokic?
It might have come across that way. I think I've definitely mispronounced it the first time.
Oh. Gokic. Oh, goodness. Okay, we're moving on.
Yeah, Brooklyn dominating Boston 2-0 in the series lead right now. But Boston, they're playing tonight, actually had a lead at the end of the first quarter. So maybe they'll be able to hold on to that. I highly doubt it. But there's a chance. There's a chance.
Teets. You know better than this. It's basketball. Literally the fourth quarter is all that matters.
Yeah. As long as you're not down by 30 points, if you're down by 11 in basketball, you can absolutely erase that.
If you're down by 20, you can still. It's just less likely.
Oh, no. 20 is a bit of a reach there. 20 is, what, 7 shots? You have to hit 7 shots without the other team scoring to get ahead. So
I've seen it. I'm just saying. Okay, granted, this is in college basketball. I've seen it like 3 times in the NCAA tournament. But
yeah, it's a little different than the NBA, though. In the NBA, everyone's fairly consistent. Or at least everyone should be, hypothetically speaking. So Boston playing tonight. Then we got Philadelphia's mopping the floor of Washington 2-0. Russell Westbrook's injured. We're not sure if he's going to play or not. It seems like all injuries on Philadelphia are cleared to play for their next matchup. So it looks like that's probably going to be maybe a 4-0, 4-1 series in favor of Philadelphia.
Which, for all the crap they get all the time, they're actually showing up.
Yeah, but the fact is they made it to the second round before. It's just that now
they're
playing a bad team.
They need to at least make the third round to be proven legit at this point.
Yeah, well, they need to make the conference. Yeah, they need to make the conference championship game. They need to win a couple of games in that series, because if they don't get past, if it's just the second round, no one really cares. They've been there before, so that doesn't matter as much as getting deeper into the playoffs and getting to maybe a conference title.
See, winning in the first round gives you basic respect. Winning in the second round makes you a lot more legit.
Yeah, winning the second round means you have a legit chance of being a contender next year. Usually. It's usually a very good predictor for teams that can come out and perform well the next season. But
so
we'll see.
It's time to hustle up. They're doing what they should be doing.
Yeah. And let's see what else we got going right now. So Memphis and the Jazz are tied at 1-1. I wouldn't expect that to hold. I think that the Jazz are going to start running away with this series right now. Memphis might have a deeper bench, but the Jazz have the 2 leading 6th man of the year candidates, including the winner and Jordan Clarkson. And Donovan Mitchell wasn't there for the first game, which Utah lost. He's now back, returned from an injury that held him out for quite a long time. So with him back on the court, the Jazz won the second game of the series, and I expect them to win almost all of the next one. So maybe Memphis gets one more, but I don't think that the Grizzlies are going to stick around very long.
Well, I don't have a lot to say about that one. Everybody has their time. It's not yours.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say about that one. I don't have as much. I had more on Philly because it always reminds me of all the stuff Risley used to say about him. Yeah.
Well, the Hawks just beat the Knicks. So the Hawks have just captured a 2-1 lead over their series against the New York Knicks, winning 105-94 tonight. Julius Randle, the supposed future All-NBA player for the New York Knicks, has not performed well at all this series. I think Derrick Rose might be their best offensive threat so far. RJ Barrett was not good this year either. I mean, not good this year. Not good this series either for the New York Knicks. So they're struggling. Their stars are not performing well. Meanwhile, Trae Young, Clint Capella, Danilo Gallinari, John Collins are all putting it together for Atlanta. And the more I watch, unless New York gets galvanized, because I think that Tom Thibodeau, the coach from New York, actually kept Julius Randle and I think Barrett as well on the bench for most of the fourth quarter because he's trying to maybe teach him a little bit of a lesson here. May calm them down a little bit. But if that somehow galvanizes something Knicks, they could turn the series around. Otherwise, I think Atlanta has the better team. I think Atlanta's going to win this series probably in 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. Sometimes people, I think, get a little too much on underdogs occasionally. There is a reason the other team is, considered the better team. There's a reason the better teams usually win. It's not to say upsets don't happen, but there's a reason we call them upsets, people.
Well, in this case, the Knicks are actually the higher seed team at 4.
I
and
know,
the Hawks are
but
at
like,
5.
if you want to talk about the actual team versus the seeding, it doesn't always end up. And I've seen that in the NBA. We talked about the Lakers and the Suns. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
My point is not the seeding. I think sometimes can be completely irrelevant. We can find that in the NHL playoffs too. I was talking more like pure team.
Yeah, and probably the only real news outside the playoffs right now. Multiple fans have been banned from arenas in recent days. One for dumping popcorn on Russell Westbrook as he left down the tunnel with a leg injury. Another one was banned for spitting on Ja Morant as I believe he was going to inbound the ball on the sideline, and 2 or 3 more were banned for making racist and offensive remarks toward Ja Morant's parents, because obviously they were at the game. And I apologize. I think I said spitting on Ja Morant. I meant spitting on Trae Young. But yeah, so some fans were also making negative remarks towards Ja Morant's parents. That caused an altercation, which led to security coming over and ejecting the fans.
So basically, here's my gist. Just don't be that guy. Don't be a jerk. It's so simple. It's even if you are a jerk, just keep it to yourself. It's not even that hard. I don't understand people sometimes. It's just really confusing. If you're a fan, there's a reason you're watching and not playing. Like, don't get that involved in the game, bro. Like, get involved. Be happy about it. Like, yell, scream, whatever you're going to do. But, like, really? You're going to yell at some guy's parents? Like,
yeah, it's so weird to me. Yeah, it's so weird to me. Fans are obviously, fans stand for fanatics. They're very invested in this kind of stuff because it's their supposed escape from the real world. But you have to recognize that, yeah, it's your escape, but it's the lives of these guys. These guys live the sport. This is not an escape for them. This is what they do. This is their living. This is their work. Yeah. So if you're spitting at a guy on his job or you're throwing popcorn on him as he's trying to do his job, I mean, that's not going to fly. So you're going to get thrown out. You're going to get ejected. You're going to get banned for life from these arenas.
Yeah,
you can't expect anything less.
Imagine if somebody just walked up to me at my job and was just like, "Oh yeah, all these racial slurs or something," and obviously I'm white, but my point is like that would never fly at a normal workplace. You'd be fired so fast.
But yeah, and here's the thing with Russell Westbrook, the guy dumped popcorn on him as he's going down the tunnel. He's hurt. Russell Westbrook, who again is hurt, turns around and starts like Russell Westbrook was trying to get up into the stands. They had about 7 or 8 people on staff holding him back, and that's why he didn't get up there. But I don't know if you've ever seen the Malice at the Palace, but basically it was a full-out brawl because some NBA players got like a drink tossed them or something like that, and he ended up going up into the stands and starting to fight with some of the fans. Russell Westbrook would have done that.
Yeah.
And he would have been justified in doing that. So
in the NHL, they had something very similar happen. A whole bunch of Boston Bruins players a while back, but quite some time back at this point, went up into the stands, and one person actually ripped one of the fans' shoes off and started beating him with it. So if you ever feel like looking up something kind of funny, because it's not like he wasn't actually hurting him, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah, to beat the guy's own shoe. Yeah. No, that's what I was kind of laughing. Like, you have to kind of laugh at a statement like that. But no, seriously, I mean, we're at a point where
don't be on an injured guy. I don't even care if you don't like him. I don't even care if you think he's the biggest jerk. He's injured. You don't dump popcorn. Well,
that's the thing. You can not like a guy, but still like have some basic humanity and respect for dude. Like, you don't spit on a guy. You don't dump food on a guy.
Even if it's like you think he's a cheater, which he's not, but even if you thought he was like a cheating jerk, like you still don't pour popcorn out. And like the injury not enough for you?
Yeah, players are used to heckling that kind of stuff, but whenever you start talking crap to their parents, you start throwing stuff at them. That's a new level of like you're gonna get thrown out. You're gonna deserve to be thrown out. You don't deserve to be at these games anymore. There's
a range of acceptable being a jerk comments and actions, guys. That's where you start to cross the line.
Yeah. So that's we've seen five fans already banned for life from stadiums, and we're not even through the first series so far. So I think maybe some fans are too jacked up to be finally back in person because they won't be again. Those 5 are done for the rest of their lives. They will not be allowed in those arenas again.
You weren't thinking. You waited a year and now you're waiting forever.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. You were waiting for so long to get back in there, and now you're never going to be there again, which I think is actually kind of poetic. I very much enjoy the fact they'll never be in those stadiums again. So
you enjoy people's misery. Honestly, though, not to say like we should be, gunning to give people what they deserve left and right, but that is a little bit of poetic justice there.
Yep. But all right, now it's time for your neck of the woods.
This is so fun.
Tell me about the NHL playoffs.
This is fun because, like, for once, I'm consistently right in my predictions. This is not normal, Teets. This started happening with the college NCAA playoffs, and for some reason, I'm on a roll right now. This is not normal. The universe is not right.
Hey, well, enjoy it while it lasts, McGinnis, because in my history, I did 11 straight weeks from the NFL season where I was right about a team winning a game. And then after that, it all went to crap. So
that's not even, no, I don't count that because you were just a playing fanboy and getting lucky.
What do you mean? I was right 11 times in a row.
Oh, goodness, Teets. But yeah, we're going to start with this one because I like pouring salt on the wounds. The Pittsburgh Penguins lose in 6 games, and I'm blaming literally one guy because the rest of the team played well. Honestly, the Pittsburgh Penguins played good, minus Tristan Jarry's glove hand. Literally, if his glove hand could catch anything, they could have very well won that series. Literally, one weakness killed them.
Well, isn't there a play? Was it in overtime? Where he tries to clear the puck and he sends it right to an island.
My goodness, that was the worst. But yeah, guess where they scored? His glove hand. So I'm gonna, literally he got the puck and just launched it right onto the tape of Mayfield, who ended up having pretty much, he had some resistance from defenders that came in. But yeah, he ended up scoring over Tristan Jarry's glove hand, which, by the way, was below where his pad was. His pad's already covering that. You don't need to have your glove there, too. It doesn't make any sense. And literally, game 1, the reason they lost, all of their goals, almost all of them, were on the glove side. And goals, most of them, or at least 2 of them, he should have had. Which, if he had had to, they would have won. Tristan Jarry is the reason they lost that series. And I feel bad saying that because he was supposed to be the answer, the replacement of Matt Murray, who was supposed to be the replacement of Marc-Andre Fleury. And I feel like y'all are at this point really needing an answer in that.
Well, Marc-Andre Fleury's been very good this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. So,
oh, yes. Marc-Andre Fleury, since leaving Pittsburgh, has had a couple of droughts of moments where he's been kind of bad. But for the most part, he's still been Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. This offseason, do the Pittsburgh Penguins need to get A, tougher, and B, they need to get more goalie help?
It literally, the reason you lost the series was goalie. That's why. That's why you lost this series. So yes, I don't even think it's necessarily you need to get tougher. It's literally just the goaltending. It was atrocious the whole series. And you were playing the Islanders, who don't know how to score, and they scored on you. This is a shame.
Yeah, they scored routinely. Just to read out the scores. First game, the Islanders scored 4 goals. Second one, they were only held to 1. So that was a good outing for the Penguins. The third game, the Penguins won. They still gave up 4 goals. They gave up 4 goals in the fourth game. They gave up 3 goals in a double overtime game. In the final game, they gave up 5 goals. Lost 5-3.
Big shame. Big shame. And I knew this was coming just because I knew the Islanders. I knew their coach. By the way, Barry Trotz has, since the 2018 Capitals run, has been in a series against Sidney Crosby 3 different times, including that run, has won all 3 of them. So the question now is, does Barry Trotz have the answer to Sidney Crosby and the Penguins?
Well, Sidney Crosby, correct me if I'm wrong, only scored 1 goal this series, I believe. So he was kind of...
Sidney Crosby, a lot of the stars this first round have been held to a minimum, which is interesting. A couple of them have still gone off, but several of them have been held back pretty hard. But yeah, with 2 different teams, Barry Trotz has beaten the Penguins over the last 4 years, 3 series, and the only 3 he's played against them.
So...
Heck, he hadn't even lost a playoff game until recently against Sidney Crosby.
So what you're telling me is the Penguins need to hire Barry Trotz.
Actually, on now, if he wasn't already on the Islanders, I want to put this into perspective, just how good a coach Barry Trotz is. Literally, they were dead last on defense, like in the NHL the year before Trotz got there. They were the worst at defending. The next year, they were the best. That is Barry Trotz. So yes, hiring Barry Trotz is always an upgrade because I would almost consider him to be the best coach currently coaching in the NHL.
All right, well, there's your answer, Penguins. You just need to hire a new coach. Get him away from a playoff caliber team.
If you can't beat him, join him, right?
Exactly. All right, so tell us how some of the other series are going right now.
Okay, so the Canes just beat Nashville. Nashville put up a good fight, but ultimately the Canes won. I don't want to spend too much time on all of these because it would take forever. Montreal staved off elimination by winning an OT 4-3 in Game 5, so we've got that game coming up. Let's see here. Yeah, we still can't be saved from the Tampa Bay Lightning because the Florida Panthers, in fact, could not find an answer in net either, other than, honestly, Spencer Knight for being a new guy. I liked the way he played in juniors. I liked the way he played in the junior championship very well. He played well in the few chances he got this season. And for the playoffs, he did well too. He just couldn't pull out his entire team over his back and win the series. So I've got to give it to Spencer Knight. And honestly, he looks like he could be the future of Florida's goaltending.
Yeah, so they had a decent series. Obviously, didn't end up the way you wanted to. 2-4 loss from Florida.
They were competitive.
Like you said, there's some positive takeaways at least. But do you think this is a team that will be better next year? Will they get to the second round next year, or is this a team that's just kind of stuck a little bit in the middle right now?
If Spencer Knight is their starter, they will be better next year. If he is not, they will not. It is that simple. Spencer Knight needs to be. Spencer Knight performs well under pressure. What more do you want? What more do you want out of a goaltender than that?
Can he score as well? Can he go up against?
Spencer Knight is a goalie.
Can he score though?
Goalie. There is no. What do you want your goalie scoring? It's more likely
glory for goalies.
Goalies are more likely to score on themselves than they are for their own team. Like.
No, hang on, hold on. Didn't a Penguins player also get an own goal this series? I know he did. A Penguins player got an own goal this series as well. You saying that reminds me that happened as well. So this has been – there have been very many instances during the Penguins series where they have absolutely, utterly failed and shot themselves in the foot. I just had to go back to that. I'm sorry. I had to go back to that.
But yeah, the whole thing with the Battle of Florida series has basically been – Florida's a good team, but yeah, the Lightning are a super team and spent way over the cap because they found loopholes because Nikitina Kucherov was injured for the season, and so was Steven Stamkos for a portion of it. So basically, they're right now an unstoppable force, and they're
and surprise when those guys came back and were healthy, they're a really good team. Who would have guessed?
The Avs basically destroyed the St. Louis Blues, sweeping them, in fact. But honestly, despite that, Jordan Binnington kind of was the old Jordan Binnington a little bit, which it's funny. Last year, he was a big reason why they lost. This year, it's even worse than it was last year, except he doesn't suck. I don't understand why he decided to turn it on this year, but he kind of found his way around it.
Do you think that he will carry that into next year, or is it just he's like streaky? You don't really know what you get from him.
I think Jordan Binnington is kind of an enigma, and I think he kind of likes it that way because he's so odd because he was chill during most of, well, I can't really, no, he wasn't, but he's an oddity. He'll come down and like fake fight people, and Grubauer made a comment about that. And then 1 minute he'll suck, and the next minute he'll be straight unstoppable. So I don't know what the heck Jordan Binnington is anymore. I thought maybe he was a 1-year wonder, and then these playoffs he performed well.
Dude gets called out for fake fighting people for acting like the NBA players are like the typical poster boys for that. They'll get up, they like puff out their chests, and they'll be like staring down, barking at each other. And how they're going to come up and just casually grab him by his shoulders, wrap him around the chest, and just walk him back. They're not trying to actually fight each other. They just want to stand up and yell at each other.
Jordan Binnington 101. You don't come to the center of an ice as the goaltender unless you actually want to fight, Jordan. Don't be that guy. One series I do really quick want to talk about that I really thought was interesting. The Jets sweep the Oilers. Wow. We're going to get into some more of this later, but wow. I mean, yeah, the Oilers have some questions now to be answered. Like, yeah, you still need an entire team instead of like 3 guys to win you a series. I thought they would have learned this last year with Chicago, but they didn't.
Well, yeah, and didn't they won, I think, 5 more games this year than the Jets did. So it wasn't like they were about equal to the Jets. They were pretty good. They had a much better record. They were right there with the Maple Leafs for the top of the North Division. And I mean, I don't know. Like you said, what else can you possibly do at this point? You have to add a full team because you have the superstars there. You haven't built out the depth yet. And for the Jets to go out there and win, I think it was a triple overtime game. They won 4-3 to close out the series, but sweep it in 4 games. Hey, didn't you say you didn't think there were going to be any sweeps this in the first round this year? I think you said that, didn't you?
I actually did say that. And of course, me getting karma'd. But yeah, straight up. Also, they had a 4-1 lead in game 3. Blew it. Just like they did last year. And like, here are the 2 teams you've lost to. The rebuilding Chicago Blackhawks, who, yeah, are better than they should be and underrated, but they're still not a typical play. Like, they wouldn't make the playoffs in any normal, and didn't this year either. Last year, they wouldn't have. They were dead last in their division. If it weren't for the extended playoffs, they wouldn't have either. And then you lose to a team that isn't actually that good. I mean, they're decent. They would have been a fringe playoff contender in any normal division. These are the 2 teams you've lost to. You need more than McDavid. You need more than McDavid, Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. This is a lesson you need to learn.
All right. Any other series you want to talk about here from the NHL playoffs?
I'm trying to remember if I forgot. Okay, yeah. The Bruins actually, your prediction actually did come true. The Bruins ended up winning. Ovi absolutely collapsed. That's never something you want to see, and that's a sign your team isn't going to win the series, by the way. If you're ever wondering about that. The Vegas Golden Knights and Wild series is going on right now. The end of the first, it's 1-1. It's game 7. So I'll probably catch that after the show, probably the 3rd period. But
yeah, we'll make sure to wrap up the show in plenty of time so you can go watch the game. But
no, I'm not rushing you. I'm just saying, like, because these games are long enough. It's the end of the first period, and we're halfway through the show. We're fine.
I was just going to say that the Capitals losing makes me feel slightly better.
Why?
I feel a little bit better knowing that we went down.
No, I'm gonna save this for the show. I'm gonna save this for the extra segment I added. I was about to say something, but I don't want to add that yet.
All right.
Sorry.
If you say so.
I got excited.
Is there anything else you want to talk about from the NHL right now?
No, I think we can move on to the NFL news. And the first little piece here is Julio Jones says, "I'm out of here" about Atlanta on live TV. Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah, so if you don't know how this happened, on FS1, Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, Shannon called Julio Jones on his phone from the set in the middle of their live taping of the live broadcast of the show. So he calls Julio Jones. Julio picks up. Julio tells him to hang on for a minute. And then Shannon is asking him, are you going to Dallas? Because Skip Bayless is a Dallas fan, so he's kind of messing around with Skip a little bit. Julio Jones says, heck no, I'm not going to Dallas. So he does that. And he says, what's the situation that you in Atlanta? Shannon asked him this question, basically. And Julio says, oh, I'm out of there. And in the background.
This for me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in the background, about a minute into this conversation, you can hear the female host, whose name I forget now, but she wasn't actually on the screen at the moment. They had her set off a little bit to the side, I believe, or broadcasting on a separate area. But she says, can you remind him we're on air? Because Shannon Sharp, at no point in the conversation, except for the very end of the conversation, told Julio Jones they were on live television. So no one knows whether or not Julio Jones actually knew in the whole conversation where he's basically saying he doesn't want to be in the Atlanta anymore. He's not going to be in Atlanta anymore. No one knows if Julio Jones knew he was on live television when he said those things.
Yeah. Side note, this just proves something of mine that I have said multiple times on these shows, and even when we've had Mike on. Don't believe a darn word a player says when they're on air. they can't say what they actually want to say. They never do. 99% of the time, they have to say what people want to hear or what won't make them look like giant jerks. I mean, like, that's probably not something off air uncommon to hear from athletes. He probably just didn't know. I bet you if he knew, his answer would have been like, we're working something out, or some really vague blah that we all get
exactly,
all the time. Yeah. Athletes can't say what they want because they would look like massive jerks all the time. Speaking frankly, that's not something they can really do.
Yeah, exactly. And you can offend a lot of people by speaking your mind as an athlete. You got a lot of eyes on you. A lot of people who are diehard fans. But Julio, I think Atlanta's fan base will actually be happy for Julio if he gets traded because he's done so much for them already. He's been such a good player. He's a future Hall of Famer. But apparently, now it's come out, the news has come out after this conversation, obviously, that Julio asked for a trade from Atlanta about a couple of months ago at this point. And so Atlanta's been in talks. There were some talks before the draft about trading Julio, but just never came together. They're asking for a first-round pick for him. And supposedly, there's a report out there from ESPN that at least one team has offered a first-round pick for Julio Jones.
Yeah, and right, like, it's probably less egregious to have said that, having the whole trade thing already be a thing. But still, like, he probably wouldn't have put it like that. Again, he probably would have said more like, we're working something out so that I can get this or they can get that, like it would have. Yeah, I just wish I would hear more of that kind of stuff. I wish athletes were allowed to do that more,
Yeah, I wish they were allowed to be more like that too. But you know what happens when they go on and they speak like that? It's the fans and the media that are just on them like crazy.
They'll get scolded so bad. I just feel bad that they can't just say what they want, just like the whole thing with Jared Goff leaving. Like, yeah, you feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, people are like, yeah, like, you'll notice all the comments they had were all about like his character and not about his actual skill because they're not going to lie, but at the same time, they don't want to be jerks. And it's like, sometimes you just wonder what somebody's actually thinking.
Well, I would have loved to have heard from Jared Goff during that time. Just hear what Jared Goff has to say about this whole situation as he's being traded behind his back, pretty much.
Well, didn't he like destroy his phone the moment he realized it? Or was that not an actual?
I don't know. I never saw that, but maybe he did.
I saw it multiple times, but I couldn't tell whether it was legitimate or not. Sometimes it's hard with all the media crap.
Yeah, sometimes people are just out there making jokes and stuff, but you never know. That's all I really have for NFL news. I mean, we could speculate about where Julio Jones is going to go, but we really
give us an honest thoughts from NFL players sometimes. I need something like that.
Yeah, give us some unfiltered opinions every now and then. I would love to hear more of that.
Yeah.
But that's all we have right now. So I guess we're going to go to the statistic of the day, which has popped up here on my screen in the past, I want to say 5 minutes or so. So you're going to have to read this out to me because I know you've added this here in the doc recently. What is the stat of the day, McGinnis?
So we have two. One was already there, so I'll correct you. It popped up about 15 minutes ago.
Okay, I just missed it.
15 minutes before the podcast started, so we're looking at about 45 minutes now. But the other one, we have two now. So the first one I'm going to throw out there is the team with the better goaltender. Now, this depends on what your opinion is with better goaltender and everything. Granted, mind you, 6 series have finished in the NHL to this point. But 4 to 6 of those series, the team with the better goaltender has won. I just want to point out how important goaltender is.
What's the old phrase, defense wins championships? I mean, your goaltender is arguably your most important defensive piece. So,
yeah. So just a reminder, this is another reason to put Spencer Knight in the future. Just remember, Bobrovsky and Dreiger are not the answers.
Yeah, wise words from Sam McGinnis. But
I don't have many of them, but the few I have are really
good. every now and then you got a little nugget that's right on there. But let's see. What's your next nugget? Because you said you have 2. And I'm looking at it right now. I don't like this one.
Yeah, this one's fun. So the Penguins and Capitals for a long time had this stint where they would always meet in the second round, and the Capitals lost 99% of those. They only won like once, and that was the year they won it all.
Back in the good old days.
Since 2018, since the Capitals won in the Stanley Cup and the Penguins made it to the second round that year, which, by the way, is the first season for the full season, like the full year, that Matt Murray was actually the starter, and the Capitals having their 1 year. Since 2018, neither of those teams have won a single playoff series. Not even in the qualifying round. The Penguins lost to the freaking Canadiens in the qualifying round.
I like to live in the past. The past is my friend.
Are you sure the past is your friend anymore? Because that's multiple years, my friend.
The far, far past is my friend.
Oh, yeah. These two super teams are come crashing down. Like, the reason the Penguins aren't anymore is because they can't find a replacement for Marc-Andre Fleury. And the reason the Capitals aren't is because they got lucky like 1 year.
Yeah. Well, the Capitals run, you had to know that was going to be more of a 1 year thing because they've been hammering away at it for forever. And it just happened to be the year they broke through. The Penguins have a history of winning multiple Stanley Cups here in the past 10 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, literally your missing piece is a goaltender.
Yeah, we'll find one eventually.
But will it be in time, though?
Look, Sidney Crosby is going to play forever, okay? We're going to be fine. We'll have it. It'll be 2030. It'll be 2030, and Sidney Crosby will still be out there on the ice scoring, all right? So we don't have to worry about anything. We have all the time in the world.
You keep telling yourself that.
All right. Let's see what else we have right now. We have a player comparison. We haven't done one of these in a while, so I'll throw it up. Player 1 is obviously the top line. Player 2 is the bottom line.
This is funny because okay. Let's just see. This is NHL. It's relevant to the current NHL playoffs. I'm curious if you can get if you need one more extra hint, I'm willing to give it. But I want to see based on those two things if you can get these two players.
One of these 0 games won.
They play. Okay, I'll give you the little extra. They play on the same team.
Is one of them's not Connor McDavid, is it?
One of them is in fact Connor McDavid.
Oh, one of them is Connor McDavid. All right, so this is. What was the other guy's name? Is it McDavid? And don't tell me. Don't tell me. Is it Draisaitl as well? Is the other one?
These are Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl's stats in the 4 games they had. So between the two of them, they scored 3 goals. So here's the thing. They kind of got boxed in, and it was interesting to watch. And Connor McDavid, 1 goal in 4 games. That's not normal for him. They basically boxed him out. And if you box out the teams like 2 weapons, what are they going to do? Granted, Draisaitl was good, and McDavid ended up being good too later in the series, but 2 guys don't get it done. See, you have these stats, but 0 games won is what matters.
I had to look up the pronunciation for Draisaitl's last name because I had no idea how to say it. I was just looking at the.
So I only know how to pronounce a lot of these names just because you hear them a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Leon Draisaitl. He's German, by the way. Probably one of the greatest German hockey players that has ever played, because there actually aren't that many that have ever played in the NHL.
I'm looking at the stats right now. So McDavid scored 105 points this year, so that's goals and assists, and Draisaitl had 84. Then you drop off, and next highest scorer on the team had 48.
Yeah. Well, so again, Nugent Hopkins, like 48 points is not bad in 56 games, or 48 points in 50. That's not bad. But here's where you really understand. You're not going to completely eliminate Connor McDavid as a factor, but putting it in perspective, Connor McDavid was almost scoring 2 points a game. Okay, so he was scoring like 1 to 2 points a game. So if we're giving this fair, he probably should have scored like 6, 7, maybe 8 points at the outside in these 4 games if you wanted to keep it consistent. He scored 4. They basically cut him down by a third.
Yeah, I mean, that's what great defenses do. That's when you can focus on a star player because you don't have the depth around a star player to make him a weapon. Defense can focus on that one guy or two, in this case, 2 guys, and kind of neutralize their impact. And, they'll get points eventually. They'll score eventually. They'll get assists, but they will not dominate in the way they usually do in regular season matchups.
Yeah, and the crazy part is the Jets don't have a great defense. And neither did the Blackhawks when they beat you. So this is the funny thing, is it doesn't even take a great team to box out 2 guys. Or to at least beat the Oilers anyway.
It just takes a competent team that knows basic strategy.
It takes a team that isn't completely dumbfounded.
Well, now, I mean, the Oilers, speaking of dumbfounded, the Oilers certainly seem to be in that situation right now, considering their lack of success despite having a generational talent on their team. Lost in the first round of the playoffs 2 years in a row. I don't think they even made it in 2018. So
yeah, here come the unnecessary firings of like head coaches and GMs instead of just changing strategies and actually getting depth.
yeah, so Dave Tippett, we'll see if he keeps his job or not, but
we shall see.
He's been there for 2 years, both of them first round exits. So teams, sometimes franchises get a little bit trigger happy there. So we don't know if he'll be back or not. We'll find out.
All right. I think we got thinking or dreaming.
Yeah, final segment for the show. We do this every week, thinking or dreaming. We basically both throw out 2 hypothetical scenarios, and we'll tell the other person, is this realistic? Is it thinking or is it dreaming? Is it just something that we cannot see happening? So I believe I went first last time again, so you can go first this time.
All right. I feel like one of these is definitely a shot. I've kind of mentioned this, but let's throw it in here again. The Penguins are a goaltender away from a Stanley Cup Finals visit. Not a win.
From a Stanley Cup Finals.
Not a win, but a visit to the Stanley.
Yeah, from getting there. I don't.
This doesn't. I want to caveat this. This doesn't. I'm not going to say this has to be in the first year they get the new goaltender, but in
all right, yeah. Then I agree. If they were to get a superstar goaltender, they would be back on pace to make a Stanley Cup. But right now, like 1 year, I don't see it happening because the fact is, yes, they were close in some of these games against the Islanders, and yes, a good goalie would have eliminated quite a few of those goals. But I still don't think if you play the Islanders this close in the first round, I think you still would have lost. You still might have actually gone to 7 games, frankly, if you had a better goalie with some of the plays that were happening. So I don't know. I feel like if you got a better goalie and you had another year, maybe, but I don't think it'd be something that would immediately make you a Stanley Cup contender in that sense, or a Stanley Cup presence.
All right.
Now I'll give you my first one. Julio Jones and Aaron Rodgers will open the 2021 NFL season as members of their current teams.
You could have added Russell Wilson if you wanted to.
I could have, but I think Russell Wilson's probably staying in Seattle. I really think that one's set in stone, but I don't know about Aaron Rodgers.
That was like a 2-week, like, he's going to leave, and then he was like, nah. So, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with this. This is 100% thinking. Usually, yeah, these players just aren't legitimate enough about this stuff. Like, maybe Julio Jones is, but this might be one of those situations where it was kind of like Deshaun Watson before all the cases came up, where it was like, no, we're not letting you leave.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance they're both still there. Obviously, June 1st is when the contracts things changes and the teams will take a smaller hit against the cap for trading guys. So maybe things around June 1st will start to move. But to me, Aaron Rodgers is too good of a quarterback to actually trade. You don't trade guys who are that good coming off of MVP seasons. And Julio Jones, I just don't know if Atlanta's going to get what they're asking for from him or from teams that want to trade for him. So we'll see. But I think there's a good chance they both end up staying on their current rosters.
Yeah, I don't think that's too unrealistic.
All right. You got your second one here. We're doing a little bit of cross sports action from what I can see. Why don't you tell me your second thought here today?
The Nets and the Lightning will win their championships this year.
I hate to say it because we're only finishing up the first round of both these series, but yeah. I mean, this is thinking, right? The Lightning, like you said, have been almost unstoppable. They look like a juggernaut right now. Brooklyn stomped Boston. I think granted Boston's not very good, but Brooklyn stomped Boston the first 2 games. And when they're hitting on all cylinders offensively, there isn't a team in the league that can shoot with them. There just isn't. I mean, you can't stop Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. You just can't. That's more, I guess maybe not more, but close to what Golden State had when they had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. You just can't stop all 3 of them. So I think that's definitely
the most important too.
Yeah, I just think it's thinking, right? I mean, those 2 teams are just so dominant. I think the Nets are probably more likely to lose than the Lightning, but
the Lightning were already a super. This is the thing that kills me. They were already a super team the last 2 years, but then because their players were injured, they got to add a good defense, like a good defenseman, not like great, but a good defenseman in David Savard. They were already a super team.
But now they're super.
That's not a word, but okay.
We can make it up. Use a hyphen. Super plus hyphen ER. And now make it okay.
They were already a team that should never lose a series to any individual team. Granted, it can still happen, but they never should.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to predict, there should never be a series you should be predicting against them.
Yeah, well, because you can lose a game on any given night. Like, teams can just show up and play ridiculously well. But in a 7-game series, it's very hard to pull it off 4 times.
They're going to be I don't know how they're going to solve their cap issues now that they're going to be $17 million over the cap this year. But for their temporary goals, yes, they're going to win another cup, and
they'll handle that later. It's all right, McGinnis. They just get another Stanley Cup. They don't care about that. That'll just go away in the offseason.
This is going to drive me insane. Why did it have to be the Lightning? Okay.
Because as much as you love hockey, McGinnis, it doesn't love you back. Let me give you my number 2 here. I got the NBA needs to adopt more safety procedures to keep entitled fans away from the players. Now, granted, I was going to predict the Lightning were going to win the Stanley Cup, but you seem to have hit on that one already, so I don't even need to throw that one in there.
I'm not sure you need I'm going to say so here's the thing. They ejected the fans. I don't know what more you want than a "you're never coming back" rule. Like, I'm not sure what could you employ beforehand? Like, what would you put down if you were going to have a safety thing? Like, Teets, give me an example.
I have no idea, McGinnis. This is why I put it to you. I was going to say, I agree with you. I think they have to protect the players, obviously, but at the same point, there's usually a covering over the tunnel that Russell Westbrook was walking into, and there was a covering put up. The fan reached behind, there's a little slot at the very top of it. And the fan reached in there and dumped the popcorn through the slot down on top of Russell Westbrook. So under ordinary circumstances, you wouldn't be able to do something like that. And part of what makes basketball so nice is that you have the fans literally right there. They're maybe 2 to 3 yards away from the players behind the bench. So I think that's what makes basketball so great, is how intimate it is with the players being right there on the court. I don't think you can take away that aspect of the game because of a couple bad apples, even though you certainly need to do everything to protect the players. So it's very interesting because I don't really know if there's any easy solution
there. I feel like just solve problems as they come up. Like with the slot thing, just fix the slot so there isn't one anymore, and eject the fan. He's never coming back. I'm not sure there's much more you can ask for there. So I'm gonna go with dreaming I'm gonna go with dreaming here. I don't think you need to add any safety. Just as you go, fix problems.
Yeah. I will point out there was a funny.
Sort of agreeing with you because you're sort of adding things, but at the same time, I don't think there needs to be necessarily safety mandatory rules as you come in, other than the caveat of we're gonna throw you out if you're that guy.
Yeah, I like to point out, I found this funny. There was a lawsuit against Russell Westbrook for $100 million that was dismissed either today or yesterday. It was from two fans who had heckled him. And again, I think it was in Utah. I'm not entirely sure, but there were some fans who had heckled him, and they got kicked out, and they basically got banned from the Utah stadium for life, I think. And Russell Westbrook came out against them, in the media and stuff like that, and they sued him for $100 million for quote unquote defamation, and the judge just threw the case out today. So,
how petty you gotta be, man. Though,
well, I found it funny that they sued for $100 million.
Yeah, I don't know what's you're really gonna kick him out for life for heckling somebody, and then you're really gonna sue him for how petty do both these people have to be? Both sides, huge petty.
Well, I think the issue was, they were the heckling. I think was racist remarks. It was, so I guess I used the wrong term. It wasn't necessarily just heckling. It was more than that. But
okay, people will get a little bit more triggered if you start doing that. Plus, that's just uncool. But at the same time, if you can't take somebody being a jerk in life, who are you? People are going to be jerks whether you like it or not. You can only isolate yourself so much.
Yeah, you can't really. There's nothing you can do with people who are jerks. I mean, people. To go back to the safety procedures, you can't do anything against just bad people. There's nothing you can really do. Bad people are going to buy tickets and show up to the stadium. It's hard. You can't do anything to prevent them from having some level of interaction.
Yeah, you can't have a "I'm a good person" scanner on the.
No, there's no way to scan it for that. There's no way to test for that. You just have to. hope that they're decent human beings. You just have to hope for some level of civility from anyone who comes in and shows up at the games.
And then if they're really I can't words. If they're really messed up or something really bad happens, then yeah, you kick them out. But that's pretty much all you got to do.
Think about it this way. You're making jobs for security. You're making more jobs by bringing more security personnel. So more people are getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
More people are getting thrown out. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine, guys. It's fine.
Yeah. That should be like you know what? The NFL needs to adopt that. The NFL needs to be the league that says it's fine. Because the NFL has all these scandals and all these things always pop up. The NFL should just have the logo, it's fine, at the very bottom of the NFL logo. They should just have its logo put out there.
Also, fun fact, the guy who ran out on the stadium on the Super Bowl actually made a crap ton of money, despite now being banned, I'm sure, from a lot.
Right. He made a bet on himself, right?
Because it was a bet.
Yeah, it was a bet. Will there be a streaker at the NFL at the Super Bowl or something like that? And
he made like $100,000 or something. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah. Now I don't know how much he's gonna have to pay, how much he's gonna if he's gonna get community service or whatnot. But I think that it might actually, as crazy as it sounds, it might actually have been worth it in this situation. I would never do it, but it might actually have been worth it.
Don't do it because you're that guy instantly, and that's what you're remembered for. But in the actual sense of money, that may have been worth it, depending on how much you care about showing up to NFL games.
Yeah. And if you're going to keep your job or not, who knows? If you're unemployed, then go for it. Well, I assume you would have to be employed, though, because it costs a lot to get into those games. So it's not going to be something
you can get into privilege based on who you know or who you are related to and things like that.
That is, so you call up your homeboy who's...
If you're high enough on the totem pole, you can lose a job and still get another one that's good.
So you call up your rich friend and tell him, hey, man, can you let me into can you make sure I get tickets to the Super Bowl? I'm about to make us very rich very quickly.
Dude, you can actually do that. No, what is our world coming to, Teets?
Dude, it's going to happen. The bets next year are going to be how many streakers are going to be at the Super Bowl, not just is there going to be one, how many, because you're going to have multiple people trying to do the same thing.
I can hear the conversation now. Bro, I bet you can't turn the lights off. Oh,
man.
Yeah.
Will there be a blackout at the next Super Bowl? There will be now.
Goodness.
Oh, man.
I think that we can't end the show any worse than that.
It's fine.
So it's fine. Yep, that's our new that should be the name of the episode is It's Fine. We should start naming
It's fine. Everything is fine.
Yes. All right. I think that's all we got, though.
Yep. That's everything we have for the show tonight. I'd like to remind everyone, we do this weekly, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We recap all the latest sports news. Right now, we're mainly focusing on, of course, the NBA and the NHL because they're in the playoffs right now. We have so much news. We have so much analysis to get through. Every show, we go for about an hour, somewhere between 50 minutes to an hour usually. We're right about that time right now. So again, you can check us out on the Grueling Truth Facebook page and a bunch of other places as well. I think we're on Twitch. Where else are we? Twitch, Periscope, and a couple other places. You can find us almost anywhere. We're also on YouTube as well at the Grueling Truth. So you can check us out on any of those platforms. But for now, McGinnis, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Samuel McG22 on Twitter and Instagram. I'll post articles there. We post sometimes podcasts because I do an exclusive NHL thing as well. So if you want something a little bit more focused on just that, you can also find that stuff there. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, and you can find me at Sam_Teets33 on Twitter, where I'm constantly posting all my articles, starting to get into really the meat of the NBA content right now. Maybe some NBA draft stuff coming up potentially here. I'm starting to dip my toes in that a little bit more as well. And some fantasy football content for this offseason. So we got a lot of stuff rolling out there. You can find all those articles from me at thegruelingtruth.com. Or again, just go to my Twitter page. You'll see them all there as well. But for now, for Sam McGinnis, I'm Sam Teets. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, because it's Memorial Day, right, McGinnis? That's what's going on this weekend. I'm right.
Yeah, that's why I'm off work an extra day and also can't go to the rink. You see, I literally thought in the middle of work, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be at work. I can go to the.
Nope. Nope. You sit at home, McGinnis. You sit at home and you enjoy Memorial Day weekend, okay?
No, I'll probably try and hang out with friends. My buddy's got an open house tomorrow, so I'll probably try and watch some hockey games with him or some of my other friends. I'll do something.
All right. Well, enjoy your weekend, man. And
Hey,
all
you
the
too.
listeners, make sure you enjoy your weekend as well. Spend some time with some family and friends. Stay safe. And, of course, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy the extra time off. We will see you